And we're live. Welcome to the Gordox Pub, where every day is another adventure in technology. I started working on a new process for a video. It took about 20 seconds to go, yeah, I'm going to have to watch more YouTube videos over this. I gave up. Just like, it's not for today. I got all the components that I need to make a video. Like, I did that part. But haven't just put the pieces together because I want to try a different way of doing it. Something that looks a little more professional, a little less janky. Because uh, the best videos really that I did for my education channel were Google slides that I had to manipulate in time to the music. I just captured the screen, so it's a really amateur, dumb way of making videos, but it worked for what I needed. But Clipchamp, I think it's on my computer. It came with it, and I've seen before how to do it. Didn't look that hard compared to like OBS. Like, I mean, yeah, I think Clipchamp might be the way to go for uh, recorded, like scheduled videos, not video, like not live streaming, but the recorded stuff that I need.
Um,
You're like, and don't care. Okay, moving on.
well, I was gonna actually say that clip clip chimp, whatever the hell it is, didn't work for me very well. I gave
Well, I
it a
don't.
shot and it didn't do much for me.
For what I'm doing, because it's not like I'm doing a whole bunch of like I'm basically doing a glorified PowerPoint in all reality. It's got an audio that I'm creating and stuff and words that I'm writing, but I don't need real like I just want to show the lyrics. That's all I'm doing are lyric videos, educational lyric videos, basically. And so far, they're super useful and effective because, like, I was linking the words, the words or the songs that I had made about specific vocab words. I had linked it to the assignment. Like when you open up the assignment, you have the option to play those videos. And a kid just, so we have to watch these? It's like, no, they're. Oh well, I ain't watching that. Like, okay, whatever. But the students act like anything you ask them to do or suggest to them, like you're asking them to, I don't know, give up blood or something. Like, you're the one who says you don't understand it, so I've made something that'll make it easier to understand. Maybe you should try that. Nope.
Well, because they don't really want to understand, they just don't want to do the work.
Exactly.
So right now I'm just doing thumbnails for a few of the panels. I've had a sour stomach for a while, so
Oh, that's always fun.
I think I'm ill, but I can't tell sometimes because of my other conditions. So, all right, panel 2.
Dose.
So what do you think the waste management guy is going to look like?
Oh, there's a little bit of a description of him. Or at least there was. I might have deleted it, and therefore, now that I'm thinking about that, I might have deleted it last time. So let me just pull up the file. Let's see what I did. Yep, yep, I certainly did delete it. So let's just find it again.
So the reason I ask is because I don't know what I'm going to draw.
That's fine.
What is he doing? Like, is he, because it just says standing there.
Well, anyway, so the original thing said mid shot of the waste manager steps into view, and I said I was picturing some sort of haphazard hazmat gear and goggles with weird hair, a big head on too thin a body.
What?
I pictured.
You can't say it fast because I'm not looking at the screen.
Okay. So haphazard hazmat gear, which, by the way, try to say haphazard hazmat gear over and over. Haphazard hazmat gear, goggles, weird hair, and by weird, I don't think he's very well kept. And a big head on too thin a body. But I don't really care. I mean, honestly, like, this is a character who I don't care. I mean, he's there to explain what's going on. The fact that it shows world building. There are aspects of it, but what he actually looks like, if you want to change something on that, I don't care at all. Kind of like before when I said the sewer mole, and you were like, Demogorgon. And I was like, all right, cool by me. So.
Well, you were saying a star-nosed mole, and I just didn't want to draw a star-nosed mole.
That's fine. That's fine. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't.
And if there was some reason that it was important to draw a star-nosed mole, I would have. But
nope. I just thought, what looks creepy? And at that point, I was like, I don't know if he wants to have some of these like smaller ones that could be in the tunnels or the sewers or the crawl, or whatever. I just chose something that would work. But your idea was cool. I'm glad we went with it. And that's why I'm telling you right now, like it says, so. Get back to that version. Yes, just. Yeah, and I'd said the Demogorgon is translucent, and you actually start to see him through the body, because the show that's not there.
But what is he doing? Like, has he got like a remote? Has he got some kind of?
Well, he doesn't control. I mean, he does. It's more like a pet. The way I had seen it was kind of like I don't remember the guy's name. This is the part. Sorry, Star Wars nerds, I forget, and I can Google it, but I don't think Rich knows. And if Rich, you know, you can say it. Good luck. Here's your chance. Prove your Star Wars glory. The guy from Return of the Jedi who ends up crying after the Rancor is dead, that was like his handler. That's kind of what the Waste Manager does. He handles the not Demogorgon thing. So he's literally watching this exit, kind of like a guard. Because the water must flow somewhere. Also, your camera has changed again.
So his name is Malakili.
Oh, you looked it up.
Yeah,
You knew it offhand.
but you didn't know it, so
I know I didn't know it. I was okay though saying I was, but me knowing it, if I had just used that guy's name, you would have been like, "Who?" I would have had to. So no matter what, I was going to go back to the description. And we're back with the camera. So, not that I want to pick on Larry Korea because, well, hey, he's a big guy and I have no reason to piss him off. But I've seen him do a rant about how he thought AI using AI was stupid. Basically, all the fun parts of his job, the making of stuff. Why would he want to give that off to a computer? You know, and I understood that, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, all right, thumbs up. But then I saw the other day he was talking about using AI. Now, I think it was in a proofreading capacity, but I was like, okay, but then now you're saying you're using AI, and I don't know. From the rants that he had before, I thought he was going to be completely anti-AI, and it still wasn't. Like, even when he was talking about using AI, like he was talking like AI said that his name for a ship might be something from it's some anime thing, and like I think it was One Punch. I don't know. I recognized it for the whatever it was, but I didn't recognize. Like I don't know the property that well. I've seen the name because there was a cartoon about it. But and he was calling the AI a liar the entire time, and I'm like, well, then why are you using it at all? I don't know. I thought it was kind of strange, but I also figure he knows how to do his business a hell of a lot better than I do. So that was another thing. I was like, oh God. So
he definitely knows what he cares about, and
that's true. But I can't say the publication. But because they aren't done and are telling people who's all gonna, if they're in the publication or not, I guess, or something. I don't know. But
well, that's good because I haven't gotten a response from them yet.
I'm sorry, but so I have to send them an invoice. So I was like, okay, that's weird. Like, not only do you sign a contract, then you have to invoice them.
Be careful of that because I found with my high paying one, that's how they own it, and you don't own the rights anymore.
Because you invoice them?
Yeah, well, because it's work for hire. And work for hire isn't yours, it's theirs.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to look to see if that's what that's like.
Yeah, you just want to be careful. That's all I'm saying, because like that may not be the case, but that was the case in my case.
And then, so that was weird, but whatever. But then, uh, I'm, they're like, let us know if you want us to put any social media links on there. And they're like, X, whatever, Instagram. Like they had a few, they listed several, and I was like, oh God, I don't have any of those things right now. I don't know if I really want them, but I kind of feel like now I have to have them. But I don't want to spend any time on them. Like I don't want that to cut into my productivity. Like I don't need to be sucked into stuff on
Well,
Twitter.
now Instagram is not a big deal. You just post whatever.
Right, but I don't.
I post pictures on my Instagram, but I don't post them regularly. I post them when I've got something new to post. So I'm not posting this stuff. The last thing I posted was the last thing I posted was something that I had thought I'd already posted, but prior to that it was I'm gonna have to look real quick. And this is how long ago it was, but once it's out in the atmosphere there, it travels around and people see it. It's in people's timelines, and just like any social media, and Meta, you know what Meta is, basically Facebook. So you've got your algorithm crap going on there. But I still see likes that from stuff I posted a while ago. Yeah, the last thing I posted was the Panta for the sword. So yeah, and then I think before that was the album cover, the horror cover, and I posted the Conan painting for Jesse.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if I look at my Instagram, there's 4 pictures I posted in a row, but it had been a while since I posted them.
Yeah.
And then the last new one I posted was that turtle I did.
Yeah.
Without the mask. And and the Mastiff drawing. So I mean, that's how far back in space they are. There's the rhino ones up there, the swamp thing, the 2 spawn covers that I did, the phantom in black and white and in color. I mean, it's not completely empty, but I think it's like it's only 85 posts, and that's tattoos as well. So I mean, you don't have to post regularly, but I mean, you can also hook it up so that you post something on Facebook, you post it there, Facebook, and other platforms as well.
I just know that when I first got on Facebook, it was because I was starting to sell stuff. I felt like, well, I should have a presence on social media, and that was the biggest one at the time. I think it was before Twitter. And
Yeah, it was after my career.
it just I don't know, it sucked my productivity away. At least I felt like it did. And like that's one of the things I turn off when I sit down to work. I go click off. Right. Yeah. So I can focus and all that stuff. And I mean, that's what I'm worried about, I guess. I think I'm just recognizing that's going to be not something I enjoy if I do this. But got to figure it out, I think. I saw something, I forget where it was. It was one of the groups, but it was an article about how agents and even publishers are looking at uh, indie publishers or indie authors, I guess, self-published authors, um, to see if they want them, to do business with them, basically. And I've always wondered why they don't do more of that, personally, just because I always thought, why wouldn't you look at self-published authors to see how well they're doing? Because if they're doing well on their own, and you can say, well, you're making X amount of money, but I think I can get you twice that, or whatever. Like if you can offer something that the self-publishing industry can't, um, that would be a good sales. You know what to offer, but I also then begin to wonder, like, if you're doing well enough that you're attracting agents and publishing companies, what are they going to offer you that makes it worth it? Like, as far as I've been able to see, publishing companies want you to do a whole bunch of what they used to do, and they want you to take care of it as the author. And then they want to take a whole bunch of money from you because, you had the privilege of publishing with them.
Well, that's one of my kind of complaints about those guys, that they want you to have a web presence so that you're selling your own book. Well, actually, if I've got less than a 50-50 part of the thing that I created, because you're supposed to be putting a cover on it, making sure it's edited, and distributing it out to stores, and getting it in brick and mortar stores, which I don't usually do. We don't
Right.
we don't take the time to go and make contacts and stuff. But that's the benefits to them. They pay for the hardback to be published, or the hardback. If you're going to get a hardback publication, you're not going to get it on your first book, more than likely.
Right.
They do paperbacks for a long, long time until you earn a pretty big chunk.
And I understand they're in a business; they have to make money and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But I also think that you have to provide value to an artist. I mean, if the artist has to do everything, I don't see the point. Not that I wouldn't like to get a contract someday with a traditional publisher if it paid well, and just so I.
Well, so I guess really the big issue with that is that traditional publishers are dying because they've shut out so many voices, and it's too late to bring them back. And the reason that they're looking into independent authors is because these independent authors, number one, have done all the work for them.
Yeah.
Number two, they already have a following, so they're bringing money to it, and trying to think and conceive and draw and stuff at the same time. It's not easy.
Sorry.
So yeah, like the only reason that you have any value with going to them is because they're extensive contact, and that you don't have to do anything for the contact, right?
Right.
And they go looking for indie publish because indie publish actually have a following. They have a creation that they already can sell, and so they know if they redress a book or they recover the book and put it out in brick and mortar stores, if it's sold online, it's going to sell in brick and mortar stores and Amazon. They for them, that's a sure thing. It's like kind of how the opposite of Martin and his ending to father, sister, brother, cousin, uncle. Martin is and his ending to A Song of Ice and Fire. He actually did give the ending.
Nobody liked it.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is that he put it out because he put it out when he told them what the ending is, in case he didn't have the books finished by the time that they got to the end, right?
Right.
Ironically. Or maybe it's not ironically and not even coincidental, right?
Yeah, I would argue it's probably, he thought, well, this way I get to test it before I,
Well, I don't know if he was thinking about testing it, but he sure figured that out, right?
Yeah.
Like, even, like, so I didn't watch the end season because I was reading the books, and I'm like, I don't want to watch that last season before I read the books. But, so what I keep thinking is, like, if the other seasons were longer seasons and they had more stuff in them because there were a lot more in the book. When they tried to wrap it up, they just tried to wrap it up. That was it. They knew where the threads were going, and they didn't do all the foreshadowing of the changes that was going to happen and all that. So I can understand Martin's frustration, because if he ends up writing what he intended to write, will the fans hate it because it was too close to the thing on the TV, or will they like the one that should have been, on TV? So I can kind of understand that. But on the other hand of it, this is where they're doing it with the independent authors, is that they know whether or not the audience likes it or not before they even buy it, right?
Right.
That is just the opposite. You don't have to take a chance on somebody because you already know that there's a following. And like I said, I'm not going to mention any names, but there's another author that has a publishing company that I like very much as a person, a little bit less as an author as I learn more about being an author. Okay. Well, I mean, we're talking about Prose Choice, and that's stuff I would probably talk to you about offline, but don't want to do it online because I really respect the guy, and I'm ostensibly friends with the guy, though he doesn't really respond to me when I talk to him anymore. So he has a
Thank you.
He has a small publishing. Hey, Chris. Has a small publishing company. But he said that he read a book. Somebody had submitted a book that was a really, really good book, but he didn't end up buying it because the guy didn't have a social media following. Like, so what? If it's a really good book, why aren't you buying it?
Right.
Because if it's a really, really good book, someone's going to hear it, and that's what your job is as a publisher.
Right.
Yeah, and that just kind of didn't happen. Not really sure how to do the translucent.
I always feel
Really,
bad when I do that shit to you. I'm sorry. Uh, oh,
it's different if I was like painting or whatever. I could just do a glaze.
yeah. I was just trying to figure out how do you indicate that most of the Demogorgon is not real, and also somewhat like a projection of the whatever the thing is, the sewer snot.
Yeah. I think Chris is a tattoo client of mine
Oh
from way
yeah.
back. Unless somebody else has the same name, which is possible, you know.
Yep.
So,
Go ahead.
Chris, this is an actual drawing. It's planning the next page. So it's not an actual drawing. It's just trying to work out how this is going to work. I didn't get to do the whole body of the Demogorgon like I wanted to, but well, I mean,
Like I was like, no, you can't draw the rest of the Demogorgon.
nope, that's the way you're making it sound. I just said I
Uh,
didn't get to. That's all.
okay, well, I knew
Well,
what the truth
I'm
was.
also
I didn't
part of
care. I just,
I'm also a big part of the decision that decided that we're not going to do the Demogorgon for the entire
yeah, yeah,
piece.
that's true.
So
That was 100%. I was like, all right, we're going with the Demogorgon. And then you're like, oh, we shouldn't go with the Demogorgon. I was like, okay, cool.
well,
Which I think is
it,
great. I think
it's
it's one of
not
the
that
best.
yeah, it's not that we shouldn't go with the Demogorgon. It was that um, it wasn't going to be a small bad guy if we really did.
Yeah, and it also just this adds into the world building. It adds into the plot. It actually works out better this way. So the other one would have been serviceable. Just this actually works better, and it's just a cooler idea. So it's just just one more layer. It's got a little bit more of the what did John Brown call always? There's the boom, or isn't it boom?
Zing.
Zing. It's got more zing, right? Am I using that right? That's how I feel about it. It's a zing.
Well, one is what you like about a genre, and the other one is what makes that special for you with your touch.
Okay.
So, okay, whatever, right? It,
Yeah,
it, it's got more zing because it's not just genre.
yeah.
So I think the way to do this is to go from a darker to a more just loose lines.
There you go.
Yeah, because I can't do like I could probably do a color hold and all that, but I'm not coloring this digitally right now. And I'm not sure if I'm going to. So So I thought this guy was kind of going to be an executive type guy.
Oh
We talked around it about a couple of times, like,
no, I think you're.
and
I don't think he's the character you think he is, because there is an executive character that we have, and he is coming up, but it's not him.
no, this was the waste management guy,
Okay.
and we talked about it. I said, like, we didn't confirm or anything, but we just
Okay.
discussed it. That I said something about thinking, am I drawing him with a briefcase, or remember?
Oh,
And
okay.
you were like, no, but I kind of thought he was, head of waste management, and he was going to have, I don't know.
No,
Uh,
he's much more like the handler for the Rancor. I mean, he technically has a job. That's his place to watch, make sure things aren't coming in and out, or at least not coming in. Everything should be going out. Yeah.
Chris, are you still with us? No. I was going to ask if you actually seen some of the pages.
If I get Clip Champ under control, which I think I can do, I really do. Today was not the day for me to care enough to want to go back and study it again. I found it. I was like, let's make sure I'm talking about the right. Like I got everything ready to get it right. But then I was like, I haven't written on my novel. I'm working on my novel. But worked on my novel, so I'm kind of at a stopping point. So if I don't start something more tonight, tomorrow I'll probably look into more about Clip Champ, and I don't think it's going to take me more than a day. I shouldn't say that because it'll probably take me more than a day now. But if I get it out, if I figure it out well enough, I'd like to take some just images of the pages and make a quick video of it, just so you have something that's not 3 hours or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like just something promotional material that we can push, I guess.
Right? You have to be able to crop the picture too.
Well,
So
anything.
there's not just like you and me, because when you speed it up and there's a little you in one corner and
Giant.
you know,
Well, I was
just,
just thinking,
well, it
I was
looks
just
weird when it's going fast and you got this drawing coming out and then you got somebody on the side talking and laughing and,
yeah,
you
do that.
know,
Yeah. I was just. I mean, what I'm saying, I just want images of pages to kind of flip through. So, like that should be relatively easy. Uh, and it's one of those. It's like a baby step. Once I figure out kind of what it is, if I can get just screenshots of just the pictures, that's something I'm pretty sure I can handle relatively soon. As I practice, it's one of the things because last week I was all butthurt about because I showed my videos to my boys and I was all nervous about it. And they kind of tore them apart. All the AI stuff they were tearing apart. And I was like, well, yeah, that's not the point. Like, they kind of missed the point I was going for. That I'm really just trying to create a tool for people to learn better. Not trying to say I'm a musician or an artist. Just here's a way to learn this word faster. That kind of thing. So since they weren't sharing my vision, I was all down in the dumps. And my wife, God bless her, was like, you know, did you learn a whole bunch of stuff? I was like, yeah, I could do this a lot faster now. Blah, 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 blah. She's like, well, then it wasn't a waste of your time. It's like, do you think it would work if students use it? Yeah, I do. She's like, well, then it wasn't a waste of your time. But some of the stuff, it's just like my students saw some of them. They kind of made fun of me about some of the stuff. And I'm just like, you got to start somewhere. Like, it's more than your other teachers are doing to help you out. I don't know what you're, whatever. But I'm just kind of coming up with projects to get me used to.
Now it's your job to go talk to them when you need fucking help.
Well, to me, if I have a reason to use the software, I'll learn it. You know, it's just I have no. I'm sure there's software I could not figure out because it's bad software. But generally speaking, the stuff that's out there, for my level at the very least, I should be able to figure out. Give it, a day or two tops to at least get something out. And all of the stuff that I'm doing, part of me is like, well, later on you might use these skills to help promote a book. You might use these skills to help promote the graphic novel. Like, to me, I get a practice on this educational material. And then if I end up using some of the stuff to help out with selling books, I mean, I'm not going to use AI art to sell my book. I'd hire you. I'd hire somebody that I'd hire a human. That kind of stuff I'm not worried about. And if I had the money, I'd hire musicians too, but I don't have that kind of money. And currently my thought is on my educational stuff is I can't afford to hire humans to provide an educational product for students. And I'm not trying to make money off of this, and I'm not trying to claim I'm like all the videos. They either say they're made from AI 100%, or they'll say directed by me, crafted with AI, that kind of thing. Very upfront about what I'm using it for. But still, some of the stuff is like, well, helps me know, if nothing else, for educational purposes, I think I don't have a problem. But when I switch over to trying to market my own book, it's one of those things where it's like, well, that means I don't have to worry about the AI stuff. But knowing how to make the videos, that could help. Knowing how to edit stuff down, that kind of thing, that would help. So
yeah, well, if you end up going to do AI to sell your book, like if everyone else is doing it, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're not. But it kind of sucks that you lose that human aspect of it.
right,
where
which is why
there could be symbolism in there. There could be motifs throughout it.
Well, I'm not worried about. I'm not using AI for my writing, but the images, yeah, that's
okay.
That's
So there are motifs and imagery too.
right. I get that. I'm saying I'm just clarifying. I'm not using AI in my writing, but yeah, the artwork to me, I think it's I would rather buy a book that I think looks like a human made it. I would rather have the artwork, that I think has a human touch. AI doesn't do that, and I don't mind it for and I'm making something for educational materials, or I'm not trying to sell art because I don't think it's really art. It's just the product at that point. But I'd rather have a book that has a cover that a human did, and I have thought about this for quite some time. If, like, let's say you wanted to indie publish, but you cannot afford a human artist, so you can't have a cover because you're not an artist. Should you be excluded from publishing? Because I can afford at least some art, you know? Like, I've bought art from you. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do for me, but it's something that can be managed. But I also know, as pathetic as this sounds, I make more than the average amount of that my town does. The average person in my town makes less than I do. So I always think about, well, all right, perhaps, I don't know. It's one of those sticky gray moral areas where I'm just like, I don't want to exclude people from being able to put out their work, but at the same time, it's like, well, I don't necessarily. I would rather support artists too. So that's another reason why I'd rather have a human. I just want to support human artists. You know what I mean? Like, I can tell you, I am not interested in any book that someone just says, hey, here's my concept, write this book for me. I don't think that could possibly be good. Not only that, if that's all they did, why should I give them money? You can't copyright the concept, so yeah, I can do the same thing and steal the same book. Like, oh, hey, I make this. And it's a race to the bottom. But, that's me. I also figure I'm not starving. I got a roof over my head. I got heat. Like, all my basics are covered. And I'd be writing whether I was making money or not, obviously. So other people want to go out and use AI. That doesn't necessarily mean I have to, or that I'm,
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, if you're a writer and you use AI as a tool to sell your book, it's not as a tool to write your book, it's as a tool to sell your book. It's no different than going to Alamo and purchasing the right to an image to use for a photo for a cover of your book. The only difference is somebody took the photo, right?
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you're going to support an artist versus a machine.
Right. But what I'm saying is, it's different if you're a writer. A lot of what you've been taught through, I don't know for like college programs, but through trial and error and workshops and listening to the other pros talk, money should funnel one way.
Right.
Right. So if you're having to pay for your own art, I mean, it's a good idea, like, to support the arts, and I'm not saying don't, but I'm saying it's far more understandable if you're paying for a book cover than if you're paying for AI to write your book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you go through, like, say, professional publishers, you're not guaranteed to get a cover that looks good.
I know.
And you're not guaranteed to get a cover that people are going to want to see. You may know this, but not everybody, might.
That's
so
true.
Kind of why I'm spreading the knowledge a little bit here.
We're going to need a button that when you're not talking to me, but talking to the audience, just like a little chime. Ding, ding.
Well, assume if you know it.
Yeah. I know.
I'm not trying to tell you, and especially when it comes to writing, because we're about as about as pretty close to experience as each other. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, we both have some different experiences, but like, I wouldn't pretend to try to tell you anything writing wise. Um, so yeah, I'm just saying, like, for those people that can't afford an artist, and I wouldn't want to say, oh, you're a writer, but you can't afford an artist, so well, you can't publish your book. That's crap. There's a lot of people out there that are self-publishing books that are going out and, like I said, buying images from like Alamo, and that's not just the only place. There are other stock image places and
Right.
other image places that do photo shoots. Like you can see them all the time on TV and art and stuff like that, where they do photo shoots and they put them up. But you can either buy the rights to use them. You could buy the rights to, um, yeah, or you can hire them to do a photo shoot for you. Um, not really that much different. If you're poor and you can't afford to hire people like that, then you shouldn't be limited to not being able to publish your manuscript because you're too poor to afford an artist. I guess that's what I'm saying. Like
Well,
I'm an artist, so yeah, I'm going to support artists, but I
right.
also can understand as a writer that, you know, it's not that we don't want to, it's that we may or may not be able to afford to, right?
Well, that's kind of where I've been falling on it. It's like, but it's just one of those things. Is I suppose everyone has a different tolerance level. Um, yeah, it's a. I don't know. After dealing with that other publication, and it's silver like that. That's it's token payment. Like the one that should have come out 3 days ago, and then it had all this.
Drama.
Yeah, and there's been more drama since, and oh my, I'm like, oh Lord, people, please, it's not that. Like, okay, it's not that big of an issue, guys. Like, but whatever. And you know what? I'm not saying that their concerns aren't valid, but I'm also kind of getting screwed over on this because of their drama, and I'm just waiting. But
Well, and also, you don't have to like they don't have to publish there if they don't like the way that, you know, if they
I,
think that if they if they think that we compromise for publishing there. I
right,
I seem to recall Jake owning a magazine that was the first professional payment magazine for flash fiction, and the
okay,
first science fiction writers of America accredited Ezine for flash fiction, and they didn't like him not having, not purchasing or not allowing uh, an advertiser that was based on sexuality, because anyone that knows Jake knows that that's not what he wants on his site. Whether
right,
it's straight, gay, whatever, he don't care. He doesn't want it. So it's not
right,
like, oh, it's one way for one thing and another way for another thing. It's just no. So, but he got
okay,
blacklisted, and I guess the takeaway from that is that if I'm gonna submit to somebody and I don't like something about that magazine, like I don't like something in the contract when I get the contract, or if I don't like, if I feel like I'm getting second or third string to somebody who I don't like, and that's happened before. Um, I can pull it. I have no compunctions of worrying about pulling it, because, like you said, well, we're not writing because we have to write. We're writing because we love to write. We're not writing for pay. We're writing for the love of it. And if we get paid, that's the bonus,
not
right?
that we don't want to get paid.
Yeah,
Right,
and it's not like if somebody said, "Hey, for the rest of your life, I'm going to pay you X amount of money to work on a novel or whatever," But I would say no, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, for the most part, like if I don't like something about it, I'm not afraid to pull out or back out. And I think that that's what's uh, screwing that publication up for you and the others is that whoever is complaining but not pulling out, like, if you don't like it, pull the fuck out. Let somebody else have the
Well,
chance.
they did pull out, but like 2 days before publication. Now, if I don't know how it gets released, I don't know, and I don't want the drop of it. I'm just like whatever. Like I had fun writing the story, and it actually changed writing that story changed my process because he had so much world building already done. It was just so much easier, and which is stupid because I've taught my students for years that there's a whole bunch of different things going on when you're writing. So the problem is that everyone starts off trying to do them all at once, and it's like if you separate the parts because they never want to do any pre-writing, they just want to jump right in and write. And I'm always telling them pre-write, and it's because my theory on it is crafting it an essay. If you can kind of get the idea down in a quick outline form so that you have your ideas and your organization figured out, then you can worry about language when you actually go to craft the essay. And it's easier to do than trying to craft the essay and organize it and get the ideas.
I do this all the time. What you're saying, I do this all the time talking to people where I'm modding from the David Finch fan server,
Yeah.
and people like I'm trying to explain. You start off with a loose sketch,
Yep.
You start off with simple shapes, and you build from those simple shapes. Like if you have a game plan to work from, it's going to be a lot faster because you know what you're drawing, right? The panel I got in trouble with on the last page because I made some shit up as I went along. And exactly that's what it is because the big panel, that's you saw me plan that out. I drew that ahead of time. I still have the
Yeah.
and when it was put on the actual panel, it was nothing nothing taxing to do.
Right.
That's why I'm doing this is to get the ideas down and to see if they work. And
Yeah. So I've been doing that theory with essay writing for my students, but when it came to writing fiction, it hadn't ever really clicked in my brain all that well. And but then being given access to all this world building, and then being told, go make a story here, I was like, oh, this is so much easier. I know these characters, like I know who these people are, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, just I thought it was easy. Um, so I've started doing a lot of world building, and then when I get the world building to where I think, all right, I think that's all the parts. But even another part of the thing is the Google tabs. I love those things. I'm sorry, I'm a big fan. But if I come across something that I'm not sure, I when I have that pre-writing done, I kind of have a story guide or a story Bible, whatever you want to call it, and then I can if I make something up on the fly, I can put it there.
Roadmap.
Yeah,
you can take side trips as long as you have a roadmap to know where you're going.
Yeah. And sometimes, like I was working on my novel today. It'd been a few days since I worked on it, and I needed to reference a character from chapter 1 that hasn't ever really been seen since. And I could not remember her name, but because I know that she's in chapter 1, it was real fast. And it's in my story guide, too. I just go to characters and, oh, there. So it's to me, it's just making the process faster. I think I've gotten more done on this novel this year than probably ever. Although I'm still playing catch up to you and Jake.
To who?
You and Jake. You guys have more words than I do.
Oh, well, you stopped and wrote 3 different stories, and you started writing a different novel, and
I know. I know.
that can change your word count drastically.
A little bit.
But it's not a competition, right? We're
You're
there for
right.
each other anyway. So, like Jake, you talked to Jake because I said something to him, and I was like, wow, look at what you got, look how far you've come, and trying to give him a vote of confidence. And he's like, I've been working on this novel for 3 years, and like, yeah, I wasn't trying to put that way. I was, trying to focus on the good stuff for you. And I'm sure it's good for him because he's almost done, after all this time.
Yeah.
But mine, like I've got 2 or 3 started that I haven't gotten back to, and the only reason I haven't gotten back to it is because the one I'm writing right now I've been paid for. So it's kind of hard not to stick with what you're paid for when you made an agreement.
Well, yeah, you should probably.
It is for me anyway. Like some people,
I would recommend that you
some
finish
people.
that novel first. That would be the one I was working on.
Yeah, and
So
that's the one that I've been working on, and like so I go through. It's so hard sometimes because it's not my idea. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
he's like, feel free to change it however you want to, and I really don't feel free to change it however I want to, because if so, it wouldn't be a kid's novel, and it probably wouldn't have the dual timelines. It would just have the one timeline. um, but just like giving me this, and I'm trying to figure out how to do this, or the first panel there's 17 people in, or some shit like that. It has its own challenges. You know what I mean? It like these aren't characters that I thought of. These aren't characters that I even like the names of. But you can tell the ones that are my characters and the ones that I like the names of, because they're the ones you're like, oh, I like them guys best, or I hate that guy.
Yeah.
But that.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, that's kind of part of the deal when you're that's work for hire, right?
Yeah.
Except for he's like, if we're published, then you're gonna own 50% of the property, and I'm like, that's cool, but that wasn't what I would have chosen to write, and probably it's gonna show. But what I was saying is that that's what slows it down, because the parts that I love to write are the parts that I look forward to writing.
Yeah.
Are all in the past, and that's not the main subject of the book. I actually took he had 4 different kind of cartoon plots, and I made one more solid plot, and I've got almost 50,000 words now.
Yeah.
If it was YA, or if it was mid-grade, it would already be either a full novel or a long novel, and I have just got to the main inciting incident. I don't know what you call it. I guess it's not quite an inciting incident, but it's really the point of no return, because it can go back. So because I have to write this about people that I never would have thought about and all that, it slows it down for me. That's what I was getting at after all that nonsense. It makes it harder for me to write something when I know where it's got to go, but these aren't really the characters that I would have written, and this isn't really what I want to be writing, but I'm trying to make it stuff that I like
Right.
in the process, like the whole mermaid scene and all, and the two mer folk characters. That was stuff that I wanted to add for myself to have something. But as I'm going along, like I added Charlie. That's the second draft. Um, and that's a historically relevant character, so that allows me to tap into the stuff I love about it. But to try to write through the Jeffrey parts, and specifically the part that's coming up, the part that I've been promising you for 4 chapters with him,
Yeah.
that was not ever the thing that I wanted to write about, but that's part of his original plot. And it will make sense because I've worked it into making sense. I don't know if you know, like when you take somebody's idea and you're forced to write somebody's idea, but you're like trying to put your own stuff in it. You've got to find this balance between them, and if there's like you can't think of a reason that it would work with what you need to add for because it's somebody else's work. You know, that's part of the challenge as well, like trying to figure out how that's gonna work, how that's gonna look for the story. Because overall, I don't want it to look like the story is patched together, but the parts that drag the slowest, you guys read them pretty fast, I guess, so that's a good thing. But they take forever to write because it's stuff that, it's like, I almost feel like you guys are being tortured to get to the end of the chapters because it's like all the stuff that actually has to happen, not the stuff that you want to happen or I want to happen. It's not the trials, but it's building up to the trials and the training for the trials and the last minute stuff that's going to happen before the trials to make foreshadowing, or putting certain elements in your Chekhov's gun or whatever.
Right.
And try to figure out, oh yeah, so why am I even doing this trial scene? It's got nothing to do with the actual plot. And then, yeah, it originally did because the title of the book, but it kind of went away a little bit because it didn't make sense to me for a bit that I'm mostly writing a book about a historical person, a historical figure that's well-known hero, and then I'm writing about someone that's an associate of that guy's descendant. So that's the actual main character,
Right.
And what did I tell you I hated about writing fantasy?
I don't know. What did you tell me?
I hate the fucking magic systems.
Oh, okay.
I don't like my preferred type of fantasy is the myth or monster over the magic. Like if I'm writing about magic, I'd much rather have that magic be a magic sword or something like that than trying to figure out how the magic system works. And this one, I'm handed all kinds of stuff that I have to figure out how the hell that works. And he's like, "Well, I didn't figure out how it works, so it's just like a video game." What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that it took me a while to understand when people said, like I was taught, you need to read. And you read lots of authors that say, if you want to be a writer, you got to be a reader.
Yeah.
And I had no problem with that. Like that was not a concern I had because I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
Read widely.
yeah. So not overly concerning to me, but I never really thought like why. Like I was all right, I guess if you say so, but you know, because I was already reading, I wasn't really worried. Well, then I saw stuff about how like pacing and stuff and transitions and like I just recently read something or saw something about it um, about people who have been trained on movies and television don't understand how to carry the progress of the story the way that a book does, and or a lot of them don't, or a lot of them you begin to see that they have um, I guess aspects that you can kind of tell that their tool belt comes from film and television instead of coming from reading. Um, and
Yeah,
I
or
think
movies, right?
right. So, had someone explained that to me earlier, I think I would have liked that better. But I never made the connection until years because I wasn't really questioning that part. It just happened to be when I saw something else. I was like, oh, now I understand. Rather than just agree with it because I like to read. Like, okay.
Oh, you mean the motivation for why?
Yeah, I just because I didn't care. I already had the motivation, which was I like to read.
Right.
But now I understand why you do that more as a writer. So, yeah, that's fun. That was one of the things I saw Larry Correa was ranting about how long they'd spent studying some book in his, I think, daughter's class or something. And he was griping about that. And I agree with him on that quite a bit. That you look at like The Great Gatsby, there are people who will spend 9 weeks on one novel. And as much as I love The Great Gatsby, I don't want to spend 9 weeks on any book. Just don't. Like, I'm happy to like. I don't have to do it anymore, but like I would read it every year. Always enjoyed it, and but I was like, this is like a little over. Like I think it's under 200 pages long, or if it's over 200, then it's just over 200. Like it is not a very big book. Like I've seen plenty of recommendations. You can read that book in a day, no problem. And I agree with that. You won't necessarily get everything that's there.
For people that like it, though. I mean, the people that
Right.
don't like it, they're not going to read it in a day.
I agree. But there's a point where I think teachers just drag some of this stuff out way too long. Like, time to move on. Which is kind of funny because it actually, there's a lot of times I will complain because there's this mentality that you should be teaching something new every day, and I'm like, that's the dumbest idea I've heard ever. How do
If
you
they
ever?
got it one time, if they got it in one time, then you wouldn't need to teach it.
Oh, exactly. Well, there's
you could
that.
just say it. You could just say it.
But I mean, how do you practice? How do you master something without practice? And if you're going to master it, you can't be constantly adding to it. Like you need some time to assimilate a certain amount and then move on. You don't just keep something new every day. That's insane. Especially when you look at the numbers, like what the retention is It's like, yeah, you can shove all kinds of information in front of somebody, but that doesn't mean they're going to keep it more than a day or two.
Yeah, it's one of those looks good on paper things.
Yeah, but it's always the people who make the decisions because it looks good on paper, and they don't have to do it. That's like, I think one of the problems with education is we a lot of problems are not fixable at scale the way they say that you should fix them, and we just keep saying, well, the teachers will figure it out. And that's why we're starting to get classes that almost everyone has an IEP. And it's like, well, that's cool, except for I'm one person. You're going to put 25 kids in my class. You're going to give them all individualized education plans. And then I'm supposed to remember, and that's just one class, mind you. I got 6 classes. And I'm supposed to remember all that and make materials for all those different, some people it can't be on the computer, it's got to be on paper. Some people, it can't be on paper, it's got to be on the computer. Some people have to sit. I am amazed at how many people have this accommodation where they get preferential seating treatment. It's like, well, when everyone has preferential seating treatments, it becomes kind of null and void. It's like that class where everyone had time and a half. And the way you figure out time and a half is if a student who doesn't have time and a half has a day, you get a day and a half. Not complicated. As long as you have that one student who doesn't get time and a half. But every student I had got time and a half. I was like, so what do you want me to base this on? And basically what it came down to, everyone gets unlimited time. It's like, okay, and how am I supposed to get that graded? Well, it's just this class. It's like, no, it's all my classes like that. I mean, they're not quite as bad. That was an extreme example. But you got a lot of people who look at, it's not that hard to do it for this one case, but then they keep giving you those one cases. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, build the impossible task. Let me take a stab at it. I think with that rant, I'm going to go on my midstream stroll. I'll be right back. It's more of a stretch, but it's all those Dr. Peppers. I feel like Forrest Gump eating Kennedy. So, which, by the way, one of my students yelled, "Run, Forrest, run," to somebody. And I was like, you haven't even seen that movie. Like, I'm positive you've never seen that movie. That movie was out before you were born. And you guys, well, whatever. I will be back.
You don't get to use that line.
That's right. He hasn't earned the privilege.
You're appropriating.
That's right. It's posing. Yeah, I'll be right back.
And I'll take this time to read the script for the next panel. And shrink my picture out because that's the way it works.
And I'm back.
So is this creature supposed to be dead in this panel?
Uh, well, we can. Uh, originally, because originally he was going to be bigger. We and the sweet spot that you insist on avoiding. No, seriously, it doesn't really matter because served its purpose. If you want to, and they're not that big, so it could have more than one. Except for if there's going to be more than one, we might want to have it. Maybe I would need to add. Do we need a panel that shows if there's more than one, or if there are other ones?
Well, yeah, probably, but I asked because I haven't read past this page.
Well, I don't think there is a past that page anymore. Well, I mean,
right?
there is for me because I have more stuff, but it's not formatted right. But he's story-wise, that thing is basically over.
All right, so because like I'm not going to draw him fighting into a giant sperm.
Well, I get that.
No, I'm just saying. And I wanted to know if he was actually going to be fighting this creature still.
No.
Or if it was going to be like in a death throes, so.
The way I was just. Well, hi, hospitable betterment. I defy that statement of yours, as we have the best viewers here already. That's why we're highly selective here at the 𝕄𝔸𝕊𝔋𝕀𝔽𝔽 Pub. But anyway, I forgot what I was saying.
We're kind of like Club 54.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So whatever that thing is, I was like, yeah, it's some kind of weird psychedelic like leech slug thing. And so I just it should have a head. I guess tadpole would have worked too. Tadpole-ish. I don't care. I was just giving you an indication. Yeah, I don't want him biting into a giant glob of sperm.
Yeah, he's not biting into somebody's spent load.
Yeah. What kind of monsters do they have there? Oh, God.
This one's the DEI snake.
Okay, I have a question for you because I've read
on the heels of that.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking about size, and that this will make sense in a few minutes. But when we were talking about weird monsters,
I hope so, because we just went from talking about firm-looking monsters to talking about size.
Well, okay, but so like this. Here's my thought process. If that had been he was biting into a giant sperm, imagine how big the creature would have to be that is the size of its sperm. So there's that. So that size perspective issue made me think about there's this project I'm doing some world building on, and perspective wise, the protagonist they're on a spaceship, and the protagonist is way smaller than the people who built the ship. So I was trying to figure out if there's a mathematical formula for like figuring out how far something can generally see, or what, like, you know how stuff, if it's big enough and it's off in the distance, it kind of fades because there's atmosphere and things like that that kind of get in the way, and plus it's far. I was like, okay, so, and this is where my question comes in, because I'm pretty sure now there's not that good of a formula or equation to figure this out. But I was asking, I was doing research. I was asking people. I was asking the Googles. I was asking whatever. And part of the problem was I wasn't even sure what I should be asking. And my uncle is and at one point in time he made all the lenses for my grandfather's um, optometry practice, and so he had to know quite a bit about math and vision and all that stuff. So I thought I'd ask him, and he's like, well, what are you trying to do? And I told him what I was trying to do, and I said that I want it to be so that the bulkheads of the ship look like planetary rings from the surface, but it's really just that you're in a ship and it's that far away and it's that big compared to the protagonist. And here's my question, finally, as I built up to it. He said that, as he understood it, a bulkhead was there to make compartments in a ship, and I've seen that definition. I know that definition. I have no problem with that definition. But I also thought it was basically the ribs. Like, you have to go, like, the part, like, you see them in submarine shows where
only the compartments if they're the ribs.
What?
Only the compartments if they're ribs, they're ribbed compartments. That's the whole point, is that they can close off so that the rest of the ship stays afloat.
Right. But I kind of thought that would be. But what are those? So are those then not considered to be ribs or bulkheads?
Depends on what you're actually talking about, but well, no, I mean, because I understand what you're saying and what you're thinking, but I don't think they have been described as ribs, but usually that's a description, like it's a simile.
Yeah.
But it might be ribs. Like, let me look real quick.
Oh, you didn't have to look real quick. That was not necessary. I just thought, because.
Well, I have a whole bunch of information on ships. I live around ships and shipbuilders.
Well, I thought you might know, so I just thought. But I was saying you don't have to stop what you're doing just for this. I'm just curious.
Okay, so let me just a second here. All right, so what they're called, and I thought so. What they're actually called are futtocks. That's Futtock.
Oh, well, that is like FU.
Yes.
TT.
Yep.
O.
Yep. CK. And now let me go and adjust again.
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know if the funnic is really the right part I'm thinking about because it would be. I mean, if you think about a ship, they normally have. I know I've seen these things. I'm not crazy. Where like basically it's where like the door is, but you have to go because it supports the whole. Yeah, you can seal the different parts off, and I mean it would be like the ribs, but it would be like these would be going above you as well to hold the frame of the whole ship. Like you're not in water, you got to hold the pressure. So it's more like a submarine. But anyway, yeah, I was trying to figure out because I've always been fascinated with the idea of what do planetary rings look like from the surface of the planet. That's kind of what this is, just me playing around with that. But I was asking a science teacher friend of mine about it, and told him my elevator pitch was basically the secrets of NIM in space.
Hmm. I'm happy with this hand today.
Well, it's just a thumbnail. That's kind of okay.
Right. That's why I'm doing one.
Yeah.
To make sure that I like the whole layout of pretty much everything. Ah.
I mean, not in a big way, just.
You okay? So I don't know what it is about my mouse. I think I need a new one. But
My mouse is giving me shit too.
mine's like just super sensitive, and I'll click on something and I'm clicking it like twice, and I'm scared to like order stuff online now, and because I don't want to order it 7 times, but I clicking it once, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've got the opposite problem is that it'll go and then it won't go where I was aiming it at anymore.
Well, mine won't. Mine doesn't like to like copy like the highlight and stuff. Like it doesn't want to hold it for some. I don't know how. Like I'll like try to highlight something for class, and it wants to skip halfway through. It's just super annoying. But anyway, I was just, you didn't hear it because I muted it, but I sneezed and I knew I was going to sneeze. Like, oh, this is coming. So I go to mute it and it does that, turned it right back on. So I'm desperately like racing. And, when you're trying to do something quick and fighting a sneeze, it's kind of hard to aim sometimes. I was like, "Urgh." But whatever. I was successful for that thrilling tale of not having to hear me sneeze. Did you see the trailer for the new Daredevil?
I did not look at it yet.
I don't. Some people are getting all giddy about it, and I'm just like, oh, this could be good.
Did you see the one the Netflix one?
Yeah, I watched the Netflix one. I like the Daredevil series.
Yeah, this is supposed to be a continuance of that, so.
Right, so that's good. But I also thought near the end of that one, I was like, this is getting kind of weird. I don't know. Part of it was Jessica Jones. That show pissed me off. They made a big issue of the second season being directed by only women. So I've never seen it. I figured, well, if you want to exclude men, that's cool. Exclude men. But
I watched it, but I didn't know that. So
yeah.
But no, like if you watch Jessica Jones, it's all about girl power.
Yeah.
And she's like a bigger deal than she actually was in the comics.
So
I was actually liking Iron Fist, and uh, they canceled that, and I was like, why would you cancel that? That was good. I
yeah, I was
mean,
I
obviously it wasn't a perfect Iron Fist because political correctness did creep up, but
right,
a lot less than it could have.
and
I was satisfied.
yeah, I liked it. I liked all of them, but again, the Jessica Jones one. I mean, I watched the first season, and I was actually like their take on the Purple Man, whatever his name actually is. I don't remember. That's pretty cool. That was neat. Um, but I didn't like the political messaging, so I was like, yeah, screw that. I hate it when they sell the idea of being that they're excluding people based on race or gender. So I wasn't really into that. But the one thing I noticed about the trailer, and you can watch this where I don't think I'm spoiling anything because it's just a trailer.
Well, you want to.
But they have scenes with with Matt Murdock and the Kingpin
Why?
sitting at a diner table, and at the beginning of the conversation, Vincent D'Onofrio's hands are pretty much on his side of the table, and then as the trailer goes on, his hands creep out. Like you never see him move, and they're always in the same position, like the way he holds the hands. It's just they're taking up more and more of the table, and I really like that kind of subtleness of that character. I was like, yeah, he would naturally begin to dominate the table. That's what he does, and I just thought that's a really nice, subtle way of doing it. I'm sure I'll watch it. I have no problem with saying that. Currently, right now, I plan on watching it, but I'm also not as thrilled as what some people are. I'm just like, okay, cool, whatever, I guess. Like they're bringing back Bullseye. I was like, well, that might be kind of neat because I didn't like the way they really finished Bullseye in the original one. Like it was kind of a neat touch, but I was like, that's not that's like proto Bullseye. It's not quite Bullseye. My boy's been playing some of the Batman PlayStation games, and on some of them, their interpretations of characters are just sometimes they're really cool, but sometimes they're just god awful. And it's not good when you can't recognize the character. And one of them I was like, who the hell is that supposed to be? Well, that's the Scarecrow. Like, there's nothing scarecrowish about him. So I don't really, I've seen variations of the Scarecrow that I thought were really cool. I thought the version they had in the Nolan Batman films was okay. It made sense the way it was done. And I liked the fact that the Scarecrow was in all three films. But other than that, I was like, eh. Like you have a character whose whole shtick is Scarecrow. Could you make sure that's part of the costume? Something. Give him a hat. Do something. So I have a crazy theory that I came up with today concerning the no S on the newest movie Superman. You know,
Oh,
because
the
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 stop sign.
stop sign man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my theory. Uh, I
It's
think
James Gunn,
it's
and fuck you if you don't like it.
well, no, no. This is more than that. I promise. Uh, sometime I think in the next, not within 10 years from now, but like I think in the 2030s, sometime like 2039 or something like that, Superman becomes public domain. And if you make a costume now, that's not public domain, right? Like that imagery is protected, but the original idea is not. So by by having his own stop sign man, uh, they can talk in less than
Yeah,
20
get
years.
around it.
Yeah,
Get around it.
because I don't care what anyone. I don't know how you can look at that design and think, oh yeah, that's an S. Like if I wrote an S like that, there's no way you would ever think it's an S. Just nope. Like, what is this backslash hit thing? I don't get it. I think the Green Lantern in the new Superman film, I swear, they had to have gone. They heard who's the guy that played Green Lantern before? Plays
Ryan
Deadpool.
Reynolds.
Yeah, that's it. They heard Ryan Reynolds say that you couldn't make a worse costume than the one he had in Green Lantern, and they said, "Oh yeah, really?"
Well, the Superman Green Lantern is Guy Gardner.
I know.
So Guy Gardner has always been kind of meh. Like the haircut that they've got is the stupidest drawing of him. Like
Yeah, and why?
he did have kind of a bowl cut, but he wasn't looking like a doof, you know.
Right.
He wasn't like one of the elves or something in Snow White.
Right.
But they're playing him like he's like he's comedic, like comedy relief or something. And
Yeah.
Guy Gardner wasn't comedy relief; he was just an asshole. That's not the same thing. And while I say that, I actually have to also give credit to Nathan Fillion because he can pull off the arrogant asshole. He did that pretty well in Dr. Horrible Sing Along Blog, where he was technically the good guy, but he was really the antagonist. Captain Hammer.
There's again, I have nothing against this movie. I guess I just I don't wish it to fail or anything, but some of the choices they've made, I question, and I also find it funny just some of the stuff that. Like the people who argue that Henry Cavill was only in one Superman film.
kind of technically in 3, right?
Well, see, that's the thing. They're like all the rest. It was it was a Justice League film. It was a Batman, or it was a duo film with Batman, which was basically Justice League as well. And I'm like, yeah, but I just saw a trailer that had what, Hawk Girl, Green Lantern, Crypto. Like, are you really telling me that this is a solo Superman film? I think that due to the way that they've kind of done marketing so far, and how firing Henry Cavill pissed off a lot of fans. Pissed off a lot of fans you didn't need to piss off. That's the problem that a lot of people have. It's like they don't see that, like, you fired Henry Cavill because reasons, and you didn't care about pissing off the fans. So the fans kind of expect there to be a clear and obvious reason why you made these decisions.
Right.
And
well, the excuse was that he's younger.
right.
That was the excuse, because it was going to be a younger Superman, but he's not retelling the same old story.
Yeah. But it's younger, because younger. So
He doesn't look younger.
I know. I'm like, he's still dating Lois. Like, how much younger can he be?
Well, and the other thing is, they talk about youth as if that matters in the movies.
Right.
Like, yeah, so Henry Cavill just broke into his 40s, right? But he doesn't look it.
Oh, I know.
Guarantee when Highlander comes out, no one's going to be all like, "Oh, that's too old of a guy." He's
agree.
too old to play Highlander. Yeah. So Superman, yeah, he can be ageless, right?
Right. And
But
again, how young can he really be if he's dating Lois Lane, who's a professional journalist? Like, she's an adult woman. You saying she's dating a man-child? Like, just that argument just really doesn't hold water.
yeah, well, I'm not I'm not in any way going, yeah, that I agree.
Oh, I know.
I disagree. I think when you spend years and years, my argument is the Hugh Jackman argument. It's going to be a fucking long time before fans are going to really accept anyone else as Wolverine.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
I mean, they may find out that the person they picked to play the Wolverine the next time is just as good, because honestly, I didn't think Jackman was going to be that good.
Right.
And I wanted someone more close to Wolverine's 5'4". Hugh Jackman's 6'4". Like, that kind of defeats the purpose. And they do have movie magic where they can make him look smaller.
Right.
Frodo, Gandalf, But they didn't bother with that. So.
Okay.
I think
Hugh Jackman's height. He's only as tall as me. So. 16.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the site you check, but the point is he's not 4'4".
Oh, I agree. He's not
5'4". Sorry.
I knew what you meant. You weren't talking about Puck. You're talking about Wolverine.
Right. But Wolverine is short.
Right.
And that's kind of part of the point of the character as well, because he's actually, I think if you look, he's actually the size of a Wolverine. Like a Wolverine is a bear cat that's actually like 5 foot something in length, or can get up to 5 foot something in length, and it's almost like as if they planned it that way. So yeah, the point actually wasn't about Wolverine's height, or it was the case that Hugh Jackman now. I mean, everybody, like, I wasn't buying it until he actually showed me, but the point wasn't whether I bought it at first. It was there is no other actor that's going to play Wolverine that's going to come close to Hugh Jackman, because he's done it so many times that he's built up a fandom. That's half of the success of Deadpool 3, because Deadpool 2 faltered, so Deadpool 3 they bring back Hugh Jackman, and the hype just grows from that original bringing back Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Because that's what they want to see. That's the Wolverine they see. Like, I have yet to see the representation of my Wolverine on film. I'm not of the Herb Trimp era where that's the original Wolverine, but I'm of the brown and kind of orangey brown
Yeah.
suit.
That was my least favorite one, though. I gotta tell you, I'll admit it.
No,
Favorite.
that's the one that actually really met Wolverine, and it made sense to me over the other ones, because
It makes that more sense.
that's much more the colors that you're going to find in nature than blue and yellow.
I 100% agree with that. I have. The only thing I can say is I just like the blue and yellow one better, but it made no.
That's okay.
It makes no sense.
And there are several different blue and yellow ones as well.
Right.
Like the first one, the Herb Trimp one, I didn't really like that. That three really thin lines around the eyes and mouth. No, the mouth. And really, really short ears.
Yeah.
The second incarnation was a little bit better. The Todd McFarlane version was all right. But I still, like, I grew up reading that particular Wolverine, like the John Byrne.
Yeah.
Dave Cockrum. Which I think probably Dave Cockrum is where the changeover started happening.
Well, now they've just ruined the character. So when he's part of a throuple, that's just okay.
Well, he's had several different love triangles, Mariko and Phoenix, and
throuple. Where he's in a relationship with a couple.
Yeah, that's the reason I don't read them anymore.
Right. I'm just like, you okay?
Like, I don't care what his sexuality is, but I really didn't super enjoy the all the melodrama between Wolverine and Jean Grey,
Right.
which naturally brought in Scott Summers and divided the team up. And
Ooh, giant tapeworm would have been a good description too. Probably
Well,
better.
that's kind of what it's becoming now,
Yeah, but that's probably
with
way better than sperm.
with some teeth.
Yeah.
But I have some of the crocodile elements in.
That's it.
Like, I mean, they kind of look a little snake-like, but it's still the same thing, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was checking the video out before this.
Okay.
Just watching last night because it's talking about thumbnailing, and I'm like, like I could step up with my with my thumbnailing, which is why I wanted to do this way today. It's
Yeah, that
talking
was,
about compositions, but not trying to get it perfect. And I have that thing where the larger I draw, the more I want to do the detail.
right.
So, um, but it's just as wise not to. Especially, it's actually wiser if you can get away with training yourself to get to draw very small.
Okay.
And the smaller you draw, the less detail you can draw. And it also gives you practice for drawing small if you're drawing something inside of a comic book or whatever. You want to do a smaller panel with a lot more stuff going on in it. A lot of it's what it takes to be able to read the action, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We're telling a story. So, like, if you can't read the story from the artwork, then it's kind of a fail. The artwork should lead you through the story. So anyway, I'm I'm trying this out to um, get enough down where I'm working with uh, the values in the composition to make sure it's readable and how readable it is and all that. We had a viewer ask what I'm planning for a color scheme, right?
Right.
And I was like, well, a lighting scheme. And I was like, I'm not really sure yet. Well, it's much easier if you're sure what the lighting scheme is. And I know that because I've done this sort of thing for a long time, but doing it online, you just kind of get in the habit of um, knowing that you're being viewed when you're doing it. So you want to get as much done as you can, or you want to get it to look acceptable when people are looking at it online. But because we're trying to show people the process, I wanted to talk about that because most of them, they do a very loose one. Like the first panel, I've got him actually biting into it. The second, he's ripping a piece out of it, but it's the fade. And then this, I didn't have him entering. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right, so I didn't have him entering in the action, but I wanted him to be involved. I wanted his entrance was big enough to mention, so I wanted to make it, big enough to look at. So there was a break between this, and this. Now he's going to be here. This is him, but he's got a weapon drawn.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay. To be fair, you didn't quite have the head up on that thing, and I wasn't exactly sure what that part was. So,
Well, I didn't finish. That's the point. Is that it's actually not for
right,
display. I'm not doing it so that you can see what it is. I'm doing it so I can see what it is. But I want
right,
everyone else to know what I'm doing when I'm doing it, so or why I'm doing it, so that they have an understanding of it. Like
well, I
I
just
know you're not gonna really get the detail, so but I want you to have enough. Yeah, I can't focus the camera, so I mean that's a gun in his hand,
right,
but it's a silhouette. So
right. I didn't want you to think it was unreadable, or that I didn't know what it was because it wasn't all there, not because what was there was confusing. Like as soon as because as you're doing it, I'm trying to, because you know how you build your drawings. So as I'm watching this, you can, it's kind of like watching clouds. Like you're not, your brain's trying to force it into things, and then at some point, it's like, oh, it's obvious now. So it's just when I said, "Oh, that's what that is," I didn't want you to be thinking that it wasn't readable. It was readable. I just
no, it wasn't done enough to read very much anyway. Like
right,
you're this, I want to show progression. So and also because he's here pointing his gun this way, and he's here coming at him, that all moves the action towards the next page.
yeah,
So putting an extra character in there at the edge there helps me direct the actions of the eye. Yeah, it's more important to me that you're reading this action
Yeah.
than this, because this is something you're just going to look and see as you're seeing it go on. But so that you're going to be crying over this lamprey spermatozoa. Pronto.
No, because I don't think as long as that's not the only one, I wouldn't. I mean, I had him being snooty and he's a bureaucrat that all of a sudden is important. Kind of liking that. But if you kill a thing, I'm going to have to assume there are other ones, and I'll have to change some of the dialogue, but it'll be like whatever. I mean,
Well, we could run away.
I have no problem with it. It's just like, oh, hey, this, you know, I'll figure out the exact dialogue later, but
Yeah, it definitely could be injured. But the main thing was I was asking how much I'm trying to get into this page for I'm gonna extend it or whatever. I don't know what's going on with the fight, so you know what sucks? Chris Briggs is a very well-read guy.
Okay.
So I'm
Not sure that's a
I'm
bad thing.
well, I'm sure he would be involved in our conversation if he had actually picked up what we were talking about.
Well, there you go.
I think he just stopped in to say hi and, show support.
And we appreciate it.
Yep. But like I know him outside, so it's like if he had actually heard, he would have probably liked the conversation. And he's more literary in his taste than I am, so he might have more in common with you.
What do you want? What do you want?
No, sir.
10:45 that. 10:45. Oh my god. 10:45. Where was I? Yeah, at that time.
You're not just bugging the piss out of me to come on here.
That time. 10:45.
It's 10:45, not 11.
No, 10:45.
It's 10:35.
Oh, he's okay. Sometimes 40 and 30 are
Okay.
interchangeable.
That's how I feel about my age. Sometimes I'm 47. Sometimes I'm 37. I like that.
Yeah, my age and my mentality are two different things. I'm never getting younger, and I don't think I would want to go back,
Yeah, probably that.
especially not these days.
Yeah, I had to buy a battery for my son's car. And it's like $200. They're definitely not cheap. And I was like, well, I can give you the senior citizen discount. Sign me up. I am an old man. I have no problem. There's a restaurant that I like to go to. It's just the King Euros, but I mean, it's owned by this guy who, I mean, it's just a Greek restaurant. It's just nice. It's just, I mean, it's not like a nice restaurant. It's just good food, cheap food, So, and I like the staff and everything.
I like Euro, so I probably would like it there. And real pizza.
They told me that I get the senior discount because I have gray in my beard. Like, I've seen their policy on the senior discount, and I am not that old. But they're like, well, we just assume if you got the gray in your beard, you're probably old enough. I'm like, well, I'm not going to disabuse you of that concept, but it's kind of funny because we've been going there since the boys were little, and now one of the waitresses who's been there forever, her daughter is in my class, and her daughter's a hoot. She just makes me laugh. And then she was complaining about her bus ride last week, and I was showing them how to use 𝕄𝔸𝕊𝔋𝕀𝔽𝔽, which is this AI thing to make music.
We want to talk about 2 minutes. 10:40.
And so she was complaining about having to ride a bus, being cold, and all this stuff.
I
I was like, that sounds like a country song. So I just plugged it in, and I made her, and I sent it to her mom. I said, Kenzie's complaining about her bus ride. I made this for her. She hates it. Her mom thought it was great, though. And then the girl came into class the next day. She's like, you texted my mom? I was like, whoa, no, I did not. No, I emailed your mom. And the girl's like, same difference. And I'm like, no, it is definitely not. Like, if I email your mom from my school account, because that's what's in our system, that's so completely different than I texted your mom. Like, do not say that I texted your mom. And she's like, what's the difference? And I'm just like, how do you not get this? How do you not hear this? There are some, Like if it had been in high school, I would have explained it, but it's middle school now, and I'm just like, just trust me. It doesn't sound good. Don't say that. Say email, because that's what I did. It's like I had a parent email me, "Can you give me a copy of my daughter's report card?" She said she threw it away. Now they have access online, but I don't know why this woman can't get online to see it. And quite frankly, the system we use is notorious for being difficult to use. So I'm not asking her to learn or sign up, but I was like, I don't know if I'm like I CC'd my principal in this, and I was like, I don't know if I'm allowed to bypass the security measures that are on our system. I was like, short answer, yeah, I can take a screen capture of your daughter's grades and send it to you, but I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do that. So I was like, so the next time I get, as soon as I find out from my boss, I will let you know. Like I will, if nothing else, I'll send another report card home. Like I can get one printed off. Just will the girl, will her daughter throw it away again? I don't know.
Snail mail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured there's a reason that this guy's in this scene, even though we never talked about him being in any other scene.
Well, originally it was because uh, Mastiff wasn't going to win that fight. Like it was going to start off where it looked like it was an easy fight, then it got a lot bigger of a problem, and he was not going to win that fight. And the waste manager and whatever the guy's name is, the cop, Lamont or whatever his name, yeah, Lamont. We're going to kind of bring the beast to heel. So we've kind of changed that. And
I'm glad we did, because we got to make our character look like he's a capable character.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, again, it was going to start off looking like it was a certain size threat, and then it was going to be a much bigger threat. But yeah, this works. This works, I think, probably better. But that character was kind of there originally because he was going to, Massive was going to lose. So it's perfectly fine the way it is, I think, and it'll show, because they're going to go to the sewer and he needs to stop at that point. Like, yeah, we can't go out right now. Like, there are reasons they have those kind of security measures, because there are that kind of big threats. So that's what this whole thing kind of does plot wise. But also now establishes really. I mean, we already had hallucinogenic drugs, but we're still playing with this whole. There's a lot of stuff that mess with your senses, um, so that's good. And then uh, there's a little bit before he goes on out. Uh, that I've taken him out of the city. Like that's my intent. Was to get him out of the city. It changes the like I changed the original plot line, I guess. Well, part of it was you kind of wanted to more. I felt like out, and so I was like, let's try to make sure.
No, I want to explore the world. That's all.
Well, this kind of does that more.
Yep.
So,
Well, and that's what I was saying. Like, it's not like, hey, I want him out there, and there's no reason he can't go out there. It was, I want to explore the world. So, city stuff is fine, but I also would like to have outposts and kind of show what the world is like there.
yeah, we're going to get into that. So, and we're definitely getting outside, and we're definitely going to see some more stuff. Um, and it's still the underlying story never really changed. It's just changing the location, changed a few things, and whatever. But overall, it's still basically the same story. It's just a different way of presenting it. Kind of like what were the two? There's like the one James Bond movie that's not officially part of the James Bond canon because it wasn't made by the normal company. Like,
Well, Roger Moore was doing it, and then Sean Connery came back and did Never Say
Never Again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which wasn't an official one, sort of like that was all those wonderful little legal loopholes that they go through, and so it's kind of like that where it's a the new version is just a different way of telling the same. It's still a story, just a different way of doing it, or something. It's a remix, or something.
Well, it's a exploration of the original idea, right?
Yeah.
The second draft.
Well, now you know why you guys see all the different drafts and everything that I write. Because, yeah, I go through and explore different avenues and start new drafts.
So I've started reading one of my favorite series, continuations.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
The Matthew Corbett series.
Okay.
That's Robert McCammon.
Okay.
And something happened that I absolutely hated.
Okay.
The reason I hated it was because it was a huge writerly fail. And it shouldn't have been a huge writerly fail for someone that's been a bestseller since the 80s.
Okay. And that was.
Well, I'm a few books into the series, so it's there's a bad guy in the series that uh, all of a sudden reappears in the last book, and the hero almost conveniently gets amnesia, and then he gets it back in the cliche way where he gets hit in the head and everything comes back, you know. But they're in the 1700s, early 1700s, on a ship going to England that's tossed about in a storm, and he's fighting with this bad guy, and the sea hits them and knocks them about during this fight. And the bad guy is wearing, well, basically riding boots from that era, which are really flat soled, you know, like the bottoms are very flat, there's no traction,
Right.
they're just knee-high boots or beyond that, where you would think of bootlegging or pirate or whatever. And this wave hits and a whole bunch of silverfish hit the deck, and the main good guy, or the good guy, is slipping around, can't hold his balance, falls, and all this other shit. And the villain is just stepping over the fish, and no, you fucking ain't. No, you fucking ain't. You're stepping over wet fish on slimy scales. There's no fucking way. But yeah, it was. I had a few of, and in a row, a few of the big three were kind of
Just ruined.
yeah, like they wasn't really paying attention to it at all, and usually he's got some really good attention to detail, and here he's talking about ships. It's the second novel he wrote talking about ships, and he's having two guys fight on the ship that's basically the size of a frigate, which isn't really big. Literally, they're in troughs that waves are coming over the top and smashing them around, so that there's a few people up on deck trying to throw ropes and anchors over to slow the drag of the boat. But yet they're just dancing around fighting, and you know, like you can almost tell, oh, the bad guy's gonna miss this way, or the bad guy's gonna get away with this way, and it's just like, no, he didn't. And I'm reading and I go, no, he fucking didn't. That's no way he did not. You know. And
Yep.
normally I don't have that issue with him. But it seemed like the whole way through that story, that's what I was getting, and I'm like, no, he didn't. There's no way he did that. Like, just I understand that you're writing from Alabama, but you've been writing around about a kid in colonial New York, pre-America colonial New York, for 10 books. Could you do the research to see what actually happens on the square rigger when waves hit? What the deck feels like in boots that are like your character's boots? You know, like anybody that I know of that's a fisherman or that lives on this coast or that boats, I pretty much would guess anywhere along the coast. We'd all be reading that and cringing like cops do at procedurals.
Right.
But I'm not a fisherman, and I'm going, Just no fucking way. And that sucks because I really enjoy these books.
Right.
So when I'm reading them and I'm going, oh, he literally, uh, took me out of my immersion for a cliche swashbuckling fight scene that wasn't really, in the end, very swashbuckling, you know?
Okay.
I mean, that's the way it was set up, that it was going to be good guy and bad guy fighting on the deck of a heaving ship, you know, just like the old, like Captain Blood and
Yeah.
old pirate movies and stuff.
Errol Flynn.
Yeah, I mean, the swashbucklers.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was just very disappointing. Like, I understand that the character's been through some shit, but so that's another thing. Like the guy he's fighting, 2, 3, 4 novels ago, something like that, he broke his leg, broke his wrist, did something that messed him up, so he was like an expert fencer, and now he couldn't be anymore. And that's part of the character's motivation for hating this guy. And he's fighting him on deck, and he kicks him in his bad leg, and dude didn't have any problem. Just, you know, kept going on a wet, slippery deck with fish flopping all the way, all around, and the ocean literally washing across the deck at a tilt. Yeah, no, he's got no problem. There's going to be no issue with balance or whatever. And this guy's been living out in the woods in Alabama or something like that. He hasn't been on the sea, so the way it makes it out to sound that he hasn't been on the sea for a long time because he fucked up with his Moriarty like employer. So he's worried about this guy getting at him. Yeah, it was a big disappointment because I'm a big fan of this author's work normally, and he wrote Boy's Life. I really love Boy's Life. And, some of the early Matthew Corbett books, one of them is one of my favorites as well. That's Queen of Bedlam. He just had one of his books, I want to say Stinger, turned into a series. On Paramount? One of them called Teapot.
Okay. Oh yeah, I saw something for
And
that.
Teapot's based on one of his horror novels.
Huh.
But he's a kind of Stephen King type writer, where it's more about the characters than necessarily having a horror element or such a heavy horror element that it would be super scary. Stinger is about an alien, and the way it's presented, it's kind of like an It type thing with an alien. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I've read the book, but I don't know what they're doing with the series because I've seen like one ad and we don't have it.
Time for day done upon my hall.
Is he telling you it's time?
He's telling me it's 10:58. Well, I mean, pretty much got the page laid out, I think.
I think so too.
Like I've got to do a little bit more detail in here. I was thinking about bringing this guy down. I've got an idea for how I want to set him up. I think he's going to look a little bit more Mad Max ish.
Okay. That
Like
works.
the bad guys on Mad Max where you see
Yeah.
the
S&M.
the masks that go into it. Yeah, I'm not really thinking the S&M gear, but I'm thinking like you say goggles, and I'm thinking like a Morton Joe's mask on the bottom half there,
Yeah.
and they had a clear one for Nathan Jones' character, but he still had another mask on, and Lord Homunculus, he had a mask on.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking of doing that like bottom mask type idea with the goggles and then your weird kind of frayed hair.
Cool.
Yeah, the boy is impatient. It's 11.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's the layout of the page. I guess I should focus on it for a minute. If the camera will want to back way the hell off.
I
So
guess
this
we
is
don't.
not the actual page, it's the layout that I'm going to build off the page with. And I really like this. I actually like the way it's pretty much all set up. That panel is going to have some work, but I really like that kind of for an upshot. So yeah, everyone that liked, subscribed, followed, thumbs up, whatever.
Yeah.
Thank you. And good night. God bless. Much love.
Peace.